London, a city of progress, power and resilience, but beneath its historic charm lies a past stained with death and disease. In the 17th century, an invisible enemy swept through its streets, turning homes into graves and families into memories. The Great Plague of London, also known as the Black Death, was one of the deadliest outbreaks in British history. It wiped out nearly a quarter of the city's population in just 1 year, leaving devastation in its wake. But how did it start? How did Londoners react? And how does this dark chapter still haunt the city today? Join me as we uncover the terrifying truth of the London Plague, from its gruesome origins to the chilling discovery made centuries later beneath Bond Street Station. Our story begins in the year 1665. London was a crowded, filthy city with open sewers, rotting food on the streets, and rats scurrying through every corner. It was the perfect breeding ground for a nightmare. In the spring of 1665, reports of a mysterious illness began to spread. The first cases were recorded in the parish of St. Giles in the Fields, a poor, overcrowded area just outside the city walls. At first the deaths were few, but by June the number had exploded. The culprit? A microscopic killer carried by fleas living on rats. The bubonic plague caused by the bacterium spread rapidly, infecting people through flea bites. Once infected, victims developed swollen, blackened lymph nodes called buboes, fever, chills, and unbearable pain. As the death toll skyrocketed, fear gripped London. The rich and powerful, including King Charles II and his court, fled the city, leaving the poor to suffer. Entire streets were abandoned, and authorities took desperate measures. Red crosses were painted on the doors of infected houses, along with the haunting words, "Lord, have mercy upon us." Families were locked inside, often left to die together. The streets became eerily silent, except for the sound of the plague doctors. These figures, dressed in long robes, gloves, and the iconic beaked masks, roamed the city in an attempt to treat the sick. But their efforts were in vain. Many of their treatments, such as bloodletting and using dried toads, were useless. With so many dead, there weren't enough people to bury them. Mass graves, known as plague pits, were dug all across London. Some of these sites remain hidden beneath modern-day buildings and streets, a silent reminder of the city's darkest days. By September, the plague had reached its peak. More than 7,000 people were dying each week. The smell of death was everywhere, and the city was collapsing. Trade stopped, businesses shut down, and food became scarce. The Lord Mayor of London, desperate to control the spread, ordered stray animals, dogs, cats, and even pigs, to be killed, believing they were spreading the disease. Over 40,000 dogs and 200,000 cats were slaughtered. Ironically, this only made things worse. With fewer predators, the rat population exploded, making the plague spread even faster. By early 1666, the plague began to decline. The cold winter months slowed the spread of fleas, and many of the infected had already perished. But just as London was beginning to recover, another catastrophe struck, the Great Fire of London in September 1666. This devastating fire destroyed much of the city, but it also burned down the plague-infested buildings, killing off the rats and fleas that had fueled the outbreak. Some historians believe this disaster helped end the plague once and for all. But the story of the London Plague didn't end there. Centuries later, in 2013, while tunnelling for the Elizabeth line at Bond Street Station, construction workers made a chilling discovery: human skeletons buried deep underground. These were the remains of Londoners who had died during the plague, their bodies hastily buried in mass graves to stop the disease from spreading. DNA testing confirmed that these individuals had been infected with the same bacterium responsible for the Black Death. Even after hundreds of years, the victims of the plague still shape London's history. The Great Plague of London changed the city forever. It exposed the need for better sanitation, public health measures, and medical advancements. Over time, improved sewage systems, cleaner streets, and better hygiene helped prevent future outbreaks. Though the Black Death is a thing of the past, its impact can still be felt today. The streets we walk on, the buildings we see, and even the modern underground transport system have all been shaped by this deadly event. The London Plague was a dark and terrifying chapter in the city's history. It wiped out nearly 100,000 people, changed the way Londoners lived, and even left behind hidden graves that continue to be uncovered today. So, next time you walk through the streets of London, especially near Bond Street, remember you might just be standing above a piece of history where the victims of the plague were laid to rest centuries ago. What are your thoughts on this tragic event? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love learning about the hidden history of London, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Tales Europe for more fascinating stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.